Hi everybody, we'll be starting the third chapter in social studies, the Iron Age. Okay? Now, the ages of human history. Now remember, historians have divided history into ages. Now why have they divided? So that we can understand it better. Okay? They have divided, you have learned Stone Age, then Copper Age, and now at present we are going to learn about Iron Age. The materials used by early human beings are still useful for us today. So whatever they used in the beginning, we are still using stone, we're still using iron, copper, bronze. We have learned a lot about early human beings through the discovery of artifacts. So historians have gone, dug, and found tools and weapons. And from those tools, weapons, the writings on the wall, the caves, we come to know a lot about early human beings, used by them. To make it easy to study human history, the historians have divided long period of time into ages. They have divided into different ages. And that is how we come to know a lot. So this is just a summary of what we learned in the Stone Age. Okay? What were the materials that they used? Stone, wood, bone and horn. In the later part, people learned how to make clay pots. So pottery using clay. And how was the lifestyle? Life of the people. They were hunter-gatherers. They went roaming, only hunted and whatever the forest gave them. Later farming and slowly farming developed. And animal, they started domesticating. Remember, the first domesticated animal was the dog. And then they used to live in caves. When population grew, then they started making houses. And then those from one to many, and then it became small villages and towns. Then came the copper and bronze age. First was copper, and then when they found that it was difficult, they found tin. And they mixed copper and tin together, they got bronze. Remember that. All the materials used earlier are also used. Okay? So they still used. In copper age, they still used stone, wood, bone and horns. And then they used copper and bronze, which was made by mixing copper and tin. Then, what sort of life they led? Various civilizations began to develop. So, people started moving, population grew, they started moving from one place to another. Okay? They had good agriculture and the earliest cities. So, in the beginning they used stone tools, now they're using copper and bronze tools to dig. Cities and civilization traded among themselves. Remember, trade started, but it was only exchange. No money was used among the goods that they had and they needed. Then came the Iron Age, which we are going to learn. All the same materials were used. Okay? Copper, bronze, stone, wood, and now iron. So let us learn about the Iron Age. Though early history has been divided into ages, but we must know one age did not come to an end. Nearly before another one started. So you've got to remember, it doesn't mean Iron Age started from here and ended there. Okay? And then Copper Age started. No, it continued. It's just to make study easy, they have divided, historians have divided into ages. Okay? They continued to use the stone, copper and bronze. Till now we are using it. Remember this. These different ages did not happen at the same time all over the world. So civilization took place part by part when people traveled from one place to another. For example, in Egypt, okay, they were making bronze tool 4500 years ago, whereas the same tools in China they were making it 3500 years ago. So see the difference. Historians think that the earliest widespread use of iron started about 3200 years ago or 1200 BCE. Now what does BCE means? Before Christ, in the beginning it was, but now it's used as before a common era. Okay? Before common era, because we don't know exactly which time dates, so we just assume a date is given. In West Asia, if you look at the map, that West Asia now is Turkey. So here there is an image of telling you how prehistory and history is divided. Prehistory, when no writings took place, we come to know about the true artifacts, the tools and weapons that we have found. Okay, Paleolithic age, Neolithic age, and then the metal age, three metal age. Okay, stone, iron, copper, bronze, and iron age. And then after that, writing started. So everything is documented, so we know it very easily. But before this, we only come to know through artifacts. Now let us learn about the iron age, the usefulness. Iron is an extremely useful metal. You know, you have seen in your doors, windows, the grill that is made, most of them are made out of iron. We still use it now. You will understand it looking at the difference between iron and bronze. So when you know the difference between iron and bronze, then you will know why iron is so useful. Remember, iron is much harder than copper and bronze. It's much harder. Bronze, later on it was made when tin was available. And they mixed copper and tin and got bronze. Okay? It is a much better tool. It makes much better tools and weapons. So iron makes much better tools and weapons. And iron is found in many parts of the world, whereas tin, copper is not found everywhere. Whereas tin, which is used to make bronze, is not so widespread. We don't find it everywhere. Iron is available, so that is why the use of iron spread very quickly. All metals melt when heated at a high temperature. So copper melted, tin melted very easily. But iron was so hard to melt it, they had a difficult time. Here you can see an image in the beginning, how they melted, and then they poured it into molds and made different metals. But iron was so hard, they could not melt it very easily. So what they did was they heated it and then they hit onto it and got the shape of the weapons. All metals melt when heated at a high temperature, but bronze melts at a much lower temperature, so it melted very easily, bronze. So people melt these metals and pour it into molds. So once they melt it, they pour it and then make the tools and metals. But iron was heated, made soft, and then beaten into tools and metals. Because iron was hard, they had to heat it and beat it, hit onto it. Several iron artifacts have been found. So from these artifacts, we come to know this a lot about the people, how they made it. Then, here you can see iron ore, and then what they do with iron ore? They send it to the factory and they melt it at a very high temperature. And after that, they pour it into molds. Okay? And when you pour it into molds, then you get the different weapons that you require. So this is how iron tools are made. Then, the changes of the iron age. What changes people's life changed? How did it change? Agriculture. In the beginning, they used stone tools to dig. It was very difficult. Then they used copper tools, and those copper tools were soft, so they had to sharpen it. But now they started using iron tools. So people used iron axes to clear forests. So they cut down trees and they started farming so that they had more land for farming. Okay. And what did they make? They made iron plowshares fixed to wooden plows, could dig deeper and turn the soil better than earlier tools. So in the beginning they had earlier tools which was very difficult to dig. Okay. And then the tools were made better. So they could dig deeper, make the soil loose and grow more crops. Then the changes that took place in building and crafts. Iron helped to improve crafts as well as building activities. So here you can see in the beginning the villages were small. Now it started growing bigger and bigger and better buildings. People lived better. Some artifacts have been found are iron cooking pots and nails. So here you can see an image. Through these artifacts, through these tools which were found, historians told us a lot about what happened during the Iron Age. Then trade started. Remember, trade started in the Copper Age. Now, in the Copper Age, they exchanged, but now they started using coins. Coins made out of iron, coins made out of gold, silver, and sometimes they mix both too. So as tools improved, more food and other goods were produced that we actually needed. So people, when tools became better, they started farming more and more. And then they found that they had a lot of crops, surplus. Surplus means extra. Okay? So what did they do? They went to other villages and traded. Okay? They exchanged, and then later on they started using money. Okay? Some early coins of iron, later they were of silver and gold, or a mixture of gold that is found, and that is how we know that from Iron Age they started using coins. Then, cities and urban centers changed. In the beginning you saw how the houses were, how the village looked like. Now, since people had a lot of time and surplus, means extra food was made. Everyone did not do farming. So few only had to do farming because there was so much of food left. So what did the other people do? They did other work. Okay? With improved agriculture, everyone did not need to be farmers. A few could produce food that were needed. So few of them did farming. What did the others? Many were free to do other things. So people were free, and then they started building better houses made out of stone and looked much beautiful. Okay? And these cities became centers for trade. Cities and urban centers grew. Some of them were very grand. So here you can see the picture, how it became more grand. With magnificent buildings, art, craft and literature. They became a center for trade as well. So here you can see stalls that are put up. Okay, and trade took place. They brought this surplus stuff, whatever, and then they traded. Okay, bought and sold. Then, how weapons changed. Iron was extremely useful in making better weapons, like spears, swords and arrowheads. Wooden wheels on war chariots were fitted. So now they started making a chariot. In the beginning they had wooden chariots. And then they fitted the wheel with a rim, iron rim, and the spokes were so that they could move faster. Okay? With iron spokes and rims. This made the chariot move faster. People with iron weapons could win battles easily. They were using stone and wood. Now they started using iron. So people who used iron in the beginning, they won more battles. Thus iron weapons helped people to gain more territory. Territory means area. Okay? Over which they could rule. Kingdoms became bigger. So from a small kingdom, it became bigger because they had better tools, better weapons. So here's an image of a chariot. So you can see how iron rims are used, and then the spokes are also made out of iron so that the chariot can move faster. Okay? Wooden wheels on war chariots were fitted with iron spokes and rims. So here you can see the rim fitted with iron and the spokes. This made the chariot move faster. People with iron weapons could win battles easily. So when they used iron weapons, they could win battles easily. Then, civilization of the Iron Age. With the growth of cities and urban centers, civilization developed. So as small villages started growing into big cities. Civilization, what does civilization mean? That a place is highly developed in areas like art, trade, writing, architecture. So when it improves, development takes place. First they started writing on walls, then now they started writing on paper. Then the buildings improved, craft improved. All civilization of ancient world did not exist at the same time. So remember, it did not exist at the same time. Just as farming, from one place it shifted. People taught the others. So same thing, civilization. Whatever they learned, they moved from another place. They conquered the place and taught those people. So it spread from one place to another. two civilizations of the Iron Age were Greek and the Roman civilization. So here's a map. You can see this is the Greek civilization that took place around the Mediterranean Sea, okay, during Athens and Sparta. So ancient Greece was a civilization that dominated much of the Mediterranean thousands of years ago. So this area was dominated by ancient Greece, and under whose command? Under Alexander. So you learn this later, Alexander the Great. This is just an information which is not there in your book. Ancient Greece ruled much of Europe and Western Asia. So Europe and Western Asia. Okay? The Greeks came before the Romans, and much of the Roman culture was influenced by the Greeks. So Greeks were there before, and then when the Romans came and conquered them, the same culture they also continued. So next image will show you the Roman Empire. Okay? The huge Roman Empire in 117 BC, CE, that is Common Era. Rome was the chief city of the empire. Now what does empire mean? Okay? An empire is a political system in which a group of people are ruled by a single individual, or an emperor or an empress. Okay? When an emperor or empress rules, one person rules the whole place, dominates, then it is called an empire. The Roman Empire was founded when Augustus Caesar, we'll learn this later, just an information, proclaimed himself the first emperor of Rome in 31 BCE, okay, before Common Era, and came to an end with the fall of Constantinople in 1453 CE. An empire is a political system in which a group of people are ruled by a single individual, an emperor or an empress. Okay. Now, what I want you all to do is read the chapter, underline the difficult words. There are a few words given here, like civilization, materials, historian, knowledge, temperature, harvest, plows, surplus, buildings, magnificent, chariots, territory, Romans. If there are other words, you can write it down. Okay? Pronounce it correctly. And then draw and color diagrams, okay, of how early coins looked like. And draw a chariot that looked like during the Iron Age. And then we want you to take a world map. If you cannot find it, then you can draw the world map and mark how far the Roman Empire